still an improvement.
Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones.
Thank you very much. We have to have our motion to formally come out of executive session, please. Have a second?
Second.
We moved and properly second. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Elba,
What are we voting on?
come out of executive session.
We don't need to vote for that.
You don't need to, it's up to the board's discretion. You could vote
That's
if you
fine.
want to.
That's fine.
So what's your vote?
Yeah.
Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Rock. Motion passes 5-0. We're at item 3. We need,
Ms. Mitchell, we have to remove 2, 3, and 2, 4 because we voted on that in the beginning of the meeting.
excuse me?
Removing 2, 3, and 2, 4 because we voted on that when you voted on in the beginning of the meeting to approve the agenda. You didn't take out 2, 3, and 2, 4. We voted on to do it.
We did that as one motion.
We did 2-1, and I said it. We were doing 2-1 and 2-3 as one motion when I called for the motion. We're at item 3. I do need a motion on the floor to approve, a motion on the floor, I'm sorry, for item 3, consider treasurer's report and financial recommendations for items 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, sorry,
3.4.
and 3.4, and 3.5.
Madam Chair, I make a motion for the consent treasurer's report and financial recommendations. I'm looking for a motion from 3.1 to 3.5.
It's been moved and properly second. Board, is there discussion, questions, or comments about any of the items in this section?
I just have 3.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you have to ask for the floor,
Please.
please. Yes, Member
Item
Gator.
3.3, Osborne Engineering Commissioning contract. First one I want to ask is this, and this is just to make sure that I'm understanding the contract the right way. What this sounds like to me is it's kind of like a check the checker, I guess, because we've got the owner's rep, we have the construction manager at risk, and now we've got this consultant. They're basically making sure that all the other players are doing what they need to do. Do I have that about right?
We actually had
sorta?
Mr. Zanoni here to explain.
Yes.
I was
and
looking at
thank
him
you.
as I was
Thank
asking,
you,
yeah.
yes. Yes, you do. It's kind of interesting, though, this contract, and I want to kind of give you a little bit of background. First of all, what does a commissioning agent, what do they do, and how they were selected, and why we're actually required to hire this consultant. This is something that is part of our co-funded requirements. It's getting our co-funding from the state. The state requires independent commissioning. Most buildings, well, what is commissioning? Commissioning is exactly what you said, is to check. And these are professionals who would check, and when oftentimes in the past, usually the contractors would commission a building. It's like commissioning, it's like the Navy, they call it commissioning of a ship. It's making sure that all the systems work correctly. Well, the state feels and actually has put together, as you know, we're required to make this project a LEED, which is called Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And part of the requirements is to have independent commissioning. And what usually gets commissioned on buildings are the mechanical systems. And what do? Well, they actually look at the working drawings, which are being completed right now as we speak. And they review those drawings to make sure that the designs meet the standard of care. They act as an independent agent. They're our agent, our meaning the state's and the districts. The state had this cost allocated as a budget item in the budget. They also do the electrical systems, they do the plumbing systems, so these are the main systems. But we do an additional item, which the state is required because of problems with school construction, and what we call envelope commissioning. What does that mean? They basically look at the entire envelope to make sure water isn't infiltrating, that you don't have moisture buildup, that these buildings are built to meet the standards of the environmental controls. What does that mean? Well, we want to make sure the walls are, and the windows are working as they were intended to make sure we're not losing heat in the wintertime, and then we're not losing air conditioning in the summertime. Yet at the same time, we're not heating up the building. So that includes commissioning of the roofs, the walls, the windows, all of those elements. Now, how were they selected? The state already pre-selected the commissioning agents. They went through a public process of bidding, and they selected approximately 8 commissioning agents that are allowed to do school projects. And when this came up, our project manager from the state, Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, gave a recommendation that we use Osborne. His a couple of main recommendations is this. One is they're local. I mean, because it's statewide, you don't want to have somebody from Cincinnati. 2, they have standard rates, which are all the same across the board for all of this, so we're not paying extra than any other district. But because we are co-funded, you're paying a portion of this cost. There is a great benefit for having a commissioning agent. That benefit, and let me tell you, I've worked on a couple of projects where they made a big difference. Not only do they look at the drawings, they do periodic inspections. And even though we have the mechanical engineer who works for the architect looking at inspections, I had a project where it's kind of interesting. The ductwork, they have these things called dampers. And they open and close, and they let air in and air out. It's basically, and you know, like on your register, you open and close it. The commissioning agent walked through the construction, and it's very important they open and close in a direction because the way the air moves through them. They were all installed reverse. And if that wasn't caught, it would have caused a lot of problems because all that stuff gets above ceilings. It'd be a major difficulty. So they have a great benefit of looking at this. The other is when they look at the exterior wall, not only they will look at the design and the working drawings to make sure it's correct, but they'll do periodic inspections. Near the end of the project, they will do I always forget the name. They will do a review. They will actually do infrared. That's it. I couldn't remember the name. Thermal thing, and they will take pictures of the building with the infrared cameras, and it will show if the exterior walls and the roofs are working properly. So it'll show if you have a lot of red, obviously, that means a lot of heat is coming out. And they do it in the winter, but they can do it even in the summer. But it's the winter is the best indicator. So again, and what happens if it wasn't installed right? We hold money from the contractors before completion of the project. We can then say to them, you have to have this done, or if you don't do it, we're going to take that money and find somebody else to fix it. And we have a very good contractor, and let me tell you why. I'll give you an example of a problem we had on the YMCA. And part of it was the design of the building. They didn't put a very high parapet over the pool. And what happened was the flashing had to be very specially installed. And it wasn't installed properly. We started getting some leaks. When you get leaks on these kind of roofs, you got to remember there's insulation underneath. If that gets waterlogged, it's useless. It was discovered, and Infinity Construction paid for everything to be fixed. They tore off the roof and put the whole new roof. Didn't cost the city anything. There was an insurance, they had an insurance policy, the contractor did, because they're worried, you know, they want to make sure. But they couldn't pay, they had a very high deductible. And so they put in over $50,000 after the project, so, and that came out of their pocket. So these things, having commissioning is really important. And one of the things, that we didn't do independent commissioning on that project. You got to remember, it was tight budget. Everybody said, yeah, we'll trust everybody. Well, it would have helped if we had done that. And so I think it has great value. We don't have a lot of control on the selection. That was all done by the state. We didn't have control on which one was given to us. They want a local, and Osborne Engineering. Osborne Engineering is a very old Cleveland company. They built the old municipal stadium through the years. They still build stadiums even today. That's what everybody sort of knows them about. But in reality, they're really an engineering company, and this is a great benefit to you all. And I want to also point out, I'm going to be coming here a lot with a lot of these, and I really appreciate your questions, and I think you should challenge us as we go through. I did talk to the board president today, because I'm seeing that, you know, you get these things thrown at you, and you look at it and you say, what is this? You know, what is a commissioning? We're spending $80-some thousand on that. Who made that decision that we're going to do it? I would like to maybe come back either through a retreat or a special meeting that we spend about 2 hours and kind of walk through what we're up against, what you are going to have to see, what are the kind of things you're going to have to get approved, and I'd like to combine it with the new segment 2. And so you're going to see me or Doug, you know, probably at almost every board meeting, especially now, because we're going to be selecting another set of consultants. For the next project. You're aware of what the last meeting, we're selecting this programming consultant, and yes, it's co-funded. We are going through a very strict process of interviews for that. But again, we'll come back in April. We're going to present that contract to you. And so I'd like to have a better sense, and Doug and I were talking about, we're going to try to put together a schedule. May not be exact dates, but we're going to say, you know, in this quarter, you're going to get hit with these things. The other thing I'd like to go through is the change order process, because we are going to present change orders to you, and I think that would be helpful too. But I appreciate the questions, and we're really here to serve you. And
I appreciate your response. It really did clear quite a bit up for me, because I did try calling Madam Chair last night, and this just brings a lot of clarity. I did my research, though. I went on OSFCC's website.
Yes.
I checked out Osborne, so I had a pretty good idea, but I do appreciate you kind of bringing it back around for me.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I do. How much is this?
It's 80. Here's, yes.
Yeah.
I have it.
Dr. Rock, it's out the construction funds, correct?
Yes.
It's been budgeted, and it's not proxy. It's $82,850. It's a pretty thick contract. They have very detailed requirements for each stage of construction. They're also going to review all the bids, because sometimes in the bidding process things can get changed. They then do inspections. These inspections all come to us. They don't go to the contractor, and then we pass them on to the contractor. So they're truly independent.
I read up on it, I just didn't see the dollar amount in here, so are we putting the dollar amount in here, or are we just like not?
No, it's.
I mean,
Right
it's
on
in the
page
contract,
1.
But it's not in the minutes, is what I'm asking. I
What
think
minute?
it should be into the minutes.
On the agenda.
Oh,
Not on the agenda.
you said
Not
minutes.
on the agenda,
Oh,
for the
agenda.
minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it should be on the agenda. And then my second question is, in purchasing of the property of the master plan, are we not putting that dollar amount in here, or are we just secretly discussing that?
No, we'll
I'm
put
just
the,
asking a
we'll put the
question.
money on there. Dr. Rock, what's the total for the, Osborne? That's a later motion. Well, I mean, for the Osborne.
Osborne?
Yeah, what is it?
$82,000.
$850.
Well, I got that one. I'm talking about the master plan, the 390,000.
Yeah, we'll put that in when that one comes up.
Dr. Rock, I have a
It's in it
question.
now.
I have a question now.
It shouldn't be
Since
in
that
there.
82,000 is part of
Oh,
our
it is.
overall cost,
They moved it up.
are we, I know we should as have it, put it in here, but are we safe because it's already covered and included in the per item
Yeah,
listing of everything that we've already approved for the construction?
yes.
This is
it's
just
already
one
part of the
element that
$28
we've
million
pulled out
project.
that we've got to approve because the OFCC has recommended that
Yeah.
Warrensville use this particular firm.
That's correct.
So we have to approve this contract. Thank you.
Yes. So we
still need a
approved, I'm
dollar
sorry, just to give you a summary of it, we approved the project of
Right.
$28 million. Along the way, we're gonna have contracts that we need to approve. And then as you approve that contract, and Mrs. Gator was at the conference on the one breakout session on this. Once we approve that contract, then I set up a purchase order, now I could pay that individual vendor.
Right.
Even though we approved $29 million, we still are gonna have
Line items.
the individual contracts will come in, and those will set up the purchase order. So this is the beginning of the purchase order process.
So let me just say this. I get all of that, but we're voting on something. I think the dollar amounts need to be on it. Yes, we voted on the millions of dollars months ago. However, now we're talking about the breakdown of it, the itemized piece of it.
Yep.
And so the itemized piece of it, yes, it should have a dollar amount attached to it.
We'll put it on there.
Thank you, I appreciate it. The 390 and the 82,000.
You got it.
Thank you.
Board, are there any other comments or questions on this area?
Yes, Steve, you just mentioned that you would be willing to sit down with us for a couple hours?
Yes, I think it would be really helpful.
I think so.
think so,
too.
Yeah,
too.
I think, and I've done this with other boards.
Okay.
And it's actually a little easier once we've gotten started. If I did that presentation at the beginning, y'all would have forgot about it, even though we would have minutes and we'd have documents. And it's kind of nice to do it now where you're very sensitive right now. You're seeing these things coming. Well, now I'd really like to explain what else are you going to see as we go through this.
And just so you know, Ms. Muirman, I did speak with Steve earlier, and we are looking at potentially the May work session to
Correct.
dedicate it to this session unless the
Okay.
board says otherwise. But he also shared, we were talking earlier today, and he shared that this would be something he will be willing to do for us ongoing because none of us have ever been involved with a project of this magnitude.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and I can't guarantee, and I'll be very honest, we'll do that session, but you're still going to have a lot of questions.
Exactly.
Sometimes you're going to say, wait, what's going on here? You know, what's going on here? And that's normal. You shouldn't, and there are no stupid questions. I mean, you haven't built something like this. It's not a lot of people have done this. But I think it would be helpful to at least kind of get the level of, hey, and you know, you speak to the community all the time, all of you do. And they're probably all asking you, what's going on, what's happening? And you can kind of talk to the future of that. Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
I have one other question. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, that's okay.
I don't think that this one is for you, though. I think this is for Dr. Rock when it comes to the comp management retro group. Right?
Yes,
Is there a cost for that one?
yes.
Now, I didn't see the cost. Oh, you know what? Well, it says a target refund of $52,000.
Yeah, we still have to pay to be in the group.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
$10,345. We reflect that in the minutes also.
All right, and then just one other final question about this. Do we also utilize OSBA for their, or do you even know what the difference is between OSBA's school comp program versus what they have?
Yeah, they have, OSBA has one, and they probably are sponsored by Comp Management or one of the competitors.
Probably, so we're not sure.
Well, no, you can only go into ones that you're gonna be invited into that group because of your specifics. It's not like you can pick what group you're gonna go into.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
are no other questions, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Board. We are now on item 4, which is our board policy review. We had item 4.1, which is the second reading of board policy number 0175.1. Member Gator, is there anything else that we need to do with that particular policy?
Not with that one, no.
Okay. And then item number 4.2, policies 163, 3213, 4213 is the first reading, and all of these are involving student supervision and welfare. So again, Member Gator, is there anything that you and Mr. Jolly have to do?
So what I'd like to, what I noticed is if you look at 4213, which is item H, that was the one where we made some of the changes. And if you look at, say, 3213, item I, the wording should pretty much mirror one another. And there was a couple of instances where, and I know this sounds nitpicky, but this is what I've seen with the
Thought it
other.
was.
It doesn't have Snapchat or something simple like the brand.
Last week.
I thought she added all of those.
So she did add it, but what I'm saying is, which one do you have up there?
Oh, I can't see it.
Is that
It
one?
says Instagram and not Snapchat.
Okay, so that's on 4213 or 161?
That one has Snapchat.
4213, item I.
Okay, so that one,
It doesn't have the Snapchat.
what
You
about?
want-
She added
item H?
Snapchat
Look
too.
at item
Item
H.
H.
Okay, so that one has Snapchat.
Item H does not have, item 8 does have Snapchat.
All right, and then when you look at 3213, it's a little bit different. Theirs is, that one is under item I. It doesn't have Snapchat.
We had discussed that at the last meeting, that all of that was supposed to be added.
I'm just,
Oh,
right.
you're saying because it's not there.
All the green is,
Because it's just a slight change. So what, I guess basically if we could just make sure.
that's fine. We'll pull it and redo it.
Even
Yeah,
though
I
you
mean,
have to pull
all the
it,
green are the
it's
changes.
First reading.
Yeah.
So as long as, by the time we approve the second reading.
Okay, it'll be in there.
Yeah,
It is consistent. That's
yeah,
all.
Yeah.
It's the
that's
same.
all. And I think you'll see that with most of the policies where it's the same for administrators, certified and classified. In those instances, it pretty much reads the exact same.
Okay, we will, yeah, I'll make sure that the eyes are correct. I got it. I know where the mistake
All right,
is.
thank you.
Thank you, Member Gator. Anything else under that section, Board? If not, we are going,
If you're gonna do all that, make sure you change 1613 too, because it's the same thing.
All three of them.
yeah, all
Okay.
three need to be consistent.
I'll make the adjustments.
Thank you, Member Elba.
Thought it was, okay.
We're at items, section 5, consent superintendent's recommendations and presentations for board action certified staff. If I could please have a motion for item 5.1.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion for the consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for board action certified staff for supplemental coaching with a dollar amount of $6,367 out of general fund.
That's not correct. That's not correct.
That dollar amount
Mm-hmm.
is way over $6,000.
Yeah.
That's what's on this agenda.
That would be incorrect.
You're looking at.
Yeah, it is.
5.1?
Correct.
Yeah, the dollar amount is wrong. So if we could have the motion read as 5.1 supplemental coaching with the annual salaries that are just not listed, but listed by each individual's name.
So no
And we
total
will-
dollar amount.
We will need to remove the 6367 from the agenda because that is incorrect.
I rescind that motion and make a new motion for the consent superintendent's recommendation and presentation for board action. Certified staff, employment supplemental coaching, That's it.
Second.
It's been properly moved in second. Is there any conversation, questions about this item, board?
So the dollar amount is 35,003.
Thank you, Member Elba. We will make sure that the correct dollar amount is added to the minutes. And it's gonna be based on, when Dr. Rock does the calculations, when he does the minutes. Thank you. Can you call the roll, please, Dr. Rock?
Yes, Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Motion passes 5-0. We're now at item 6. If I can have a motion on the floor for consent agenda, superintendent's recommendations and presentations for board action classified staff, 6.1 through 6.3.
Madam Chair, I make a motion for the consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for board action classified staff. I'm looking for a motion from item 6.1 through 6.3.
I second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and seconded. Board, is there any discussion?
I do. 6.2, is, the name is spelled D-E-V-E-N. That's the brother that's on here, and the brother didn't apply, the other brother did.
We will look to Ms. Hunt and her
Yeah, Ms.
staff.
Hunt, is that the person who applied?
That's correct.
No, the mother said it's D-E-V-E-N.
I'll check the paperwork,
Okay.
but I believe that's how he wrote it on his employment application.
Thank you. Are there any other comments, concerns on this? If not, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on our agenda, you okay? Next on our agenda is item 7, consent. Superintendent's recommendations and presentations for personnel and programs, and I need a motion on the floor for items 7.1 through 7.12.
7.2.
Please forgive me, we need to do 7.1 and then 7.3 through 7.12.
Madam Chair, I make a motion for item number 7 on our agenda, the consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for personnel and programs. I'm looking for a motion for 7.1, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, 7.9, 7.10, 7.11, 7.12.
I second.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Can you take out 7.9 too? I apologize.
Please rescind the motion. Please restate the motion for item 7.1. And then 7.3 through 7.8, and then 7.10 through 7.12.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for personnel and programs. I'm looking for a motion for the items 7.1, 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, 7.6, 7.7, 7.8, 7.10, 7.11, and 7.12.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Mr. Jolly, I believe you wanted to speak to item 7.1.
Yes, I did want to speak to 7.1. 7.1 is a donation of a baby grand piano from the estate of Brian McConnell, a long-term employee. We have received it, is here at the high school, so I just want the public to acknowledge Mr. McConnell's estate for donating this beautiful piano to our school district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, board? Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll for 7.1, 7.3 through 7.8, and then 7.10 through 7.12?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Now, if I may have a motion on the floor for item 7.2, resolution regarding student suspension appeal adopting the designee's decision to affirm suspension.
Are we doing those together?
She asked for them to be separate. Member Elber, do you mind if we do 7.2 and 7.9 individually or separate? I mean, together.
separate, I mean.
We're asking,
Just that?
we're asking.
Okay. At this time, Board, I'd like to recommend a motion for consent superintendent recommendation and presentation from personnel and programs. I'm looking for item 7.2, resolution regarding student suspension, appeal adopting the designee decision affirm suspension.
Have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Board, is there any discussion? If none, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Elba,
No.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 4-1. Now, if I may have a motion on the floor for item 7.9, the job description for the Director of Operations.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for personnel and programs. I'm looking for a motion for 7.9, a job description, Director of Operations.
Have a second?
I second.
It's been moved and properly second. Board, is there any discussion on this topic?
So I have some questions.
Okay.
So, based on this email that we got about the Director of Operations, it can be anybody off the street because they don't need to have any type of licensure, whereas opposed a business manager in the state of Ohio has to have a license. And in speaking with ODE, your district is looked differently when they have licensure. Why would we go down and not have a license based on the email said because you didn't get a lot of people to apply?
Well, that's a great question. We are looking at different job duties for that position. We want to cast a larger net to see who comes and applies for the position. I don't believe we're going down because you don't have to have a license for the position. A lot of school districts have directors of operations. It's based on experience. It's based on a person able to effectively do the job. And that is our reason. We want to and we stated this when we provided the interim position for this year. Our experience over the last 3 years is that we've had people with licenses over the last 3 years. And we've had tremendous change over the last 3 years. So we want to cast a different net to see if we can grasp different people. There's a small amount of people who have the business manager's license, which limits the pool of people for the position.
So the job description didn't have an experience of what the person or whomever should have, what the minimum requirements are. Are there not gonna be any minimum requirements? Because this is a job description that we're voting on that's gonna be effective immediately.
Of course, there are minimum requirements. I mean, you have to have experience with operations. You have to have knowledge of facilities, 5 to 10 years of experience with facilities or operations or facilities. So, I mean, anybody is open to apply for the position. Here's the job description. Bachelor's degree is required, as well as equivalent of 5 to 10 years in school district operations or related field.
So what's a related field? Just asking.
Also, business, you can own a business, or you could be part of, you could work in the corporate world, be a facilities manager in the corporate world. Those people will be open to this.
And so will the salary stay the same? Is it increasing, decreasing?
Well, the salary will remain the same as it is now. We will bring a comprehensive package to the board that reflects everyone's salary in administration.
Are there any further questions, board? If none, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator? Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Mrs. Elba?
No.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 4-1. So next, that's okay. Next on our agenda is item 8, but that was our error. We had an administrative error as we were working on the agenda, so please forgive us. The actual item that we're going to move to is 9, school board conferences, conventions, and workshops. And for item 9.1, we are going to approve members to attend the OSBA BLI. So if I can have a motion on the floor for that one, please.
So, excuse me, before we.
Can
put
we
a
put the
motion
motion on the?
Well, no, because you can't do that until I tell you what I'm about to say first. I emailed you guys first that I was going, my name is not even on here. So before you put a motion out there.
Oh, you know what, I apologize, your name
Okay.
should have been out here.
Okay. Not a problem.
May I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion on item number 9, school board conferences, conventions, and workshops.
Oh, it's right here.
I'm looking for a motion. Are we doing all three of these? Are we doing all three or just the one? 9.1 only?
9.1, 9.2.
Okay.
Because 9.3 is the board updates.
Looking for a motion for 9.1 and 9.2.
I'll second that.
9.2, the recommended action says school board member attendance, sorry, I didn't catch this, for OSBA BLI, but that should be Q.
Cube is 9 point, oh, it
Two.
is, well, it says cube up top.
It says Q up
Yeah.
top, it's just the recommended action.
And so for Cube, it'll be Mrs. Moomin, Mr. Freeman, Mrs. Gator, Miss Mitchell, and Mrs. Elba.
Yes.
Yes, and then for BLI, when are you gonna be booking that? Because I'm still on the fence about that one. Have you already booked it?
No, we're not gonna, we won't book anything until it gets board approved.
So when will you book it then?
As
Do I
soon as
have
it's
a couple
open.
of days still to?
Yeah, we'll wait for you.
Okay, all
Okay,
right.
is there early registration for BLI, Dr. Rob?
I don't remember BLI
I don't
having
remember.
early
I think it's out there
registration.
now, though.
It is out there now, because it's in April.
End of it, right?
Yeah.
And Dr. Rock, I will get back with you regarding Q.
Okay,
So please please don't book me unless I try to say.
no problem.
Excuse me.
Take notes and make sure everyone's satisfied.
Okay, thank you.
So approval will be based on Member Gator getting back to Dr. Rock and Member Mumin getting back to Dr. Rock, Gator on BLI and Mumin on Q.
Right.
Thank you both.
Well, you could just approve it,
Yeah.
Yes,
and then you
instead of
just call me and tell
approval.
me, no,
Right.
you're not going.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
There's no further discussion. Can we have a vote, please? Call for the vote.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell.
Yes, motion is approved 5-0. And again, board members, once you know for sure what you're going to do, just let Dr. Rock know. Next on our agenda is board updates for school board conferences, workshops, and conventions that our members have attended. Tonight, we've got updates from Board Member Gator and Board President Ray Freeman for the conferences that they attended over the months of March and February.
I'll go first, if that's okay with you.
That's perfect.
So yesterday, as a matter of fact, I had the opportunity to attend the, state legislative conference for OSBA. This was a really good opportunity for board members, superintendent, and treasurers to meet with local legislators, to hear what their platform is, what the issues are that they're gonna be standing for, what they're not gonna be standing for, and for us to ask questions of them and address any concerns that we might have. So it was supposed to start off with Peggy Lerner, who's the chair, but she wasn't able to make it due to some hearings. So we got to hear from Howard Fleeter, who, I believe he's a consultant with the Office of Budget and Management. He provided an update on what to look for with the budget. Basically, what he's saying is that Governor DeWine is gonna be focusing on wraparound services for students, as a way to close the achievement gap. What they've identified is that it's not that the children can't learn, it's just that they have these social issues that are impacting them. So you're gonna see more money from the budget that's gonna help with, social workers and things like that. Not gonna go through the whole thing, I've only got a few minutes. It was a really good session. The way the political climate is today, there's so much back and forth and the parties are divided, but what I really came away feeling was that, that both parties, the House and the Senate, are really trying to work together. They've discussed more bipartisan, they discussed that there's gonna be more bipartisanship. They talked about Senate Bill 4 and the impact that it's going to have. Last year when I went, there was hardly any discussion about House Bill 70. We had so many people that stood up and talked about House Bill 70 and what are we going to do? How are we going to help these districts? So there's State Representative Kent Smith out of Euclid. He's the one that came up with the initial moratorium, which was House Bill 626, I believe. He's still working on it. They're going to be introducing new legislation on Monday. It's now going to be House Bill 127. You also have Joe Miller, Representative Joe Miller, who's working on House Bill, on repealing House Bill 70. So a lot of discussion about House Bill 70, a lot of discussion about the Cup-Patterson school funding
Yes.
formula that they're working on. I know that Akron's treasurer, Ryan Pimbleton, has been actively involved. So it's good to see that legislators are really trying to work with treasurers, superintendents, school board members to get feedback on what the issues are and really listen to what's going on. I thought it was a great conference, and I was really glad that I got to go.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any questions for Member Gator? Mr. Freeman?
My workshop I actually attended was through the Ohio School Board Association, through the mid-size urban collaborative that Mr. Jolly sits on, our superintendent, along with other local superintendents. It was a chance for Ohio School Board Association to come and talk to the actual districts that would possibly in the House Bill 70 and just give a viewpoint from their district of how everything happened in their district. Superintendent Jolly did a great job of showing the data and the data that we do here at Warrensville and how it helped us in the classrooms and on the overall package and how it helped us fight the Ohio Department of Education on some of the parameters that they had set some of these urban districts with. Mr. Jolly went first. He gave a great presentation. Mr. Jolly, probably the best presentation I've seen that you gave. It was detailed. Second was Maple Heights Superintendent Dr. Charles Keaton. He gave his actual pitch of Maple Heights and how they take the data and they do actual teaching. So they take the data that they have at Maple and they do a framework for instructional framework. And they put that framework together to how they want their teachers to educate those scholars over in Maple Heights to actually combat some of the stuff that Ohio Department of Education is doing on these districts. And then the third one was Sandusky, Dr. Saunders, who's the actual president of the Mid-Size Urban Collaborative. He sent his assistant superintendent, Valicia Cade. She did a great job of doing the actual instructional rounds and what they do at Sandusky. When you take the data, when you take the actual framework for your teachers or educators, how are they implementing it in Sandusky? But it was a great day to have all three of these districts that's part of the mid-size urban district that Superintendent Jolly sits on. And it just shows Ohio School Board Association and the 25 members that was actually in attendance, and probably about 5 of those districts are currently taking or trying to be part of the House Bill 70, which was Lorraine and Youngstown was there. It just gave them a way of that they can get a path to get out of this House Bill 70. All these members at this table today should be getting in a boatload of information about House Bill 70. I know, let alone, I got like 10 emails, like Superintendent Jolly said, about Lorraine and come out to Lorraine. But per the legislative, it's good that they're looking at it. I know when we went before, and I know Mimi didn't have that much information, but to hear from Mark Curtis with Twinsburg and Al Long from North College Hill yesterday, they were excited of the legislative conference, and they had a lot to talk about House Bill 70, so that's really good. But it was a good conference. We represented. Superintendent Jolly did a great job, and we have copies, or I have some copies if somebody wants to see it. But it's a great program about data. Yeah, that's about it.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Ms. Gator? We are coming to a close, slowly but surely. Dr. Rock, did we have any correspondence?
Yes, we did have some correspondence. I'm going to hand it down to you. Once it gets to you, the top correspondence, the first page is not the top, but Senator Coons thanked me for testifying for Senate Bill 4, so it was nice to get a thank you from her. She says that Senate Bill 4's journey is halfway through the legislative process, and I'm hopeful we can enact this measure as soon as possible. So it was nice to be thanked from that, especially so fast. And then the next part in the package is some congratulations that we got throughout all the United States of America for Mr. Freeman on his Master Board Award that will be awarded to the board along with Mrs. Gator and Mrs. Elba next Monday. But these were ones that came directly for Mr. Freeman from NSBA throughout the United States. This one's from Baltimore City Board of School Commissioners, Martha Hassan. If I pronounce these wrong. Hassan. Antoria Nicely from Virginia. Leah Purrier from, also from Virginia, Charlottesville City Schools. Marquez Snow from Omaha Public Schools in Nebraska. Bruce Alexander from Akron Public Schools. And Ricky Johnson from New Orleans. So that's a pretty big spread amongst I just thought that was interesting to see that spread along, so Warrensville, we are getting our light out there. I know Mr. Freeman always says that, but now once I get to say it.
Thank you. Well, I just want to say congratulations again to our 3 board members, Elba, Freeman, and Gator. A lot of work has gone into allowing you all to have that achievement with OSBA, and we look forward to celebrating with you guys on Monday evening in Warren, Ohio. And I also do want to share with the community that this board will be traveling to Philadelphia at the end of this month for the NSBA annual conference, and we look forward to coming back with a plethora of information to share to see what we can do to provide insights to Mr. Jolly and the team on continued improvements in the district. Go right ahead. I'm done.
2 things. First of all, I want to let everybody know that one of our alumni, class of '89, April Delaney, passed away. Her daughter graduated last year from the district. So her funeral is going to be on Saturday. She was 47. So that's one. The second thing, and Mr. Jolly, can we get a resolution for her, please? Thank you. The second thing is that the Chamber of Commerce, they do every month, they do the volunteer at the food bank. So I was talking to them about possibly, since I do middle school, having the middle school, if they are available to volunteer for 2 hours. And we have certain days of the month that we do it. So the next time we do it is April 21st. I'm not really sure if that's testing week or not, but it is. If not, the next time is May the 21st. And it's only for 2 hours a day, and they just basically, it allows them to have community service, and the gentleman that's over it, he wanted to start doing more things in the district as far as volunteering, because a lot of the businesses were going outside of the area to do it, as opposed to the people that are part of the Chamber of Commerce. So
Where do they do the food bank at?
we go to the food bank.
Oh, downtown, they go downtown. Waterloo, yeah, okay.
Go on Waterloo.
Okay, that's something we could work with. We could work on that, yep. May 21st.
And Michelle, you said you have the person's name. You'll have it, or you'll give it to them, Mr. Jolly, already.
The contact person.
Contact for us to work with at the chamber.
Charlie Izzo? Oh,
Mr.
we
Trust City?
Charlie Izzo, we deal with Charlie Izzo anyway.
Yeah.
Steve, Charlie, we'll meet with him tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll mention it to him.
Are there any other announcements? If none, we would like a motion on the floor to adjourn the regular meeting of March 20th, 2019.
Madam Chair, I'd like the motion to adjourn tonight's meeting, regular meeting, March 20th, 2019.
I second.
It's been properly moved in second. Dr. Rock, can you call the roll?
Mrs. Elba?
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator? Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Meeting is adjourned.